Hello everyone, my name's Annette and you might know me on social media as Nettersplays. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about my acquisitions and impressions for the month of August. So I actually managed to get 11 games. I know that's a lot, but I did actually play 8 of those 11 games. So first off, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 games that I didn't get to play and what I actually thought about them, why I chose those games. And then the 8 games that I did manage to play, I'll talk to you about my first impressions of the playthrough and what I actually thought of those. So yeah, let's get to it. So the first game I'm going to talk to you about is this game called The Ravens of Thri Sahashri. So it's a 2-player game. It's a cooperative game. It's asymmetrical, meaning one player is playing it one way, the other player is playing it a different way. And one player is playing this cute little girl, Ren, and the other player is playing this little boy, Feth. And so both of them have some sort of attraction to them. That's what really actually took me onto this game, is the storyline behind it. So these 2 little characters have a liking for one another, except that Ren sees something horrific and she falls into a coma. Has these weird memory relapses and she can't remember everything and has these weird dreams and such. And he is a psychic. He can kind of see what her dreams are about. However, they're a little mixed up and a little, blurred. So that's where these cards come in. So as you can see, part of the images of her memories or dreams are here and the rest of it's blurred. And what you're trying to do is actually cover up and fill in the gaps and try to see if you can manage to create these full pictured images. So you're also going to have these ravens in the game, in the cards themselves, and they're going to feast upon her memories and her dreams. So it's a really weird kind of game where you're playing these cards and you're laying them out in certain ways. One person is picking and choosing what cards to lay out. The other person is gathering the cards that they need from that pile. But another cool thing about this game is that there's these envelopes. So after you play the first game, knowing the rules in the small little rule book, you actually get to learn the game. And then it'll tell you at the end to open envelope 1. This is where the game kind of evolves. It's kind of like a legacy game in a way where it changes the rules. It kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. So you'll become better at the game, but then you'll have to open a new set of rules. And it has 2 and 3, up to 3 different envelopes where you can open and play the game in different sorts of ways. So that's something that really attracted me to this game. It's just the fact that it's asymmetrical, it's cooperative, it's a small little card game, and it also has these weird little envelopes with a really weird story to play along with. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, I'm really looking forward to playing this. Hopefully it's as good as I'm making it sound. But yeah, I think it's a really game that I'm looking forward to. So, another game that I managed to get, but I didn't get to play, is this game called Thri, or Trojas. I'm not sure how to say it, but as you can see, what really attracted me is this artwork. It's got this really medieval kind of feel, and it looks a lot different than any other board game. It makes it look antique. Also, the designer of Ginkopolis is one of the designers of this game. So Ginkopolis is one of my favorite games, and actually this really attracted me even more so to this. So as you can see, the artwork right here, this character on the side, and then on the other side of the box right here, you can see it's got a lot of detail on it. And not just on the box itself, but also on the game board. You can see all the different things right here in this one castle. The village where the workers are at, and then you got the military base over here, and then you got the religious folks and the cathedral and such. So you're trying to get prestige in this game, and you have also all these different cards, and you have dice, and you're trying to complete certain missions and trying to get certain points in different ways and manners, of course. It's like a worker placement, I guess, but with dice rolling and kind of trying to draft between the dice. And also you score at endpoints based on not your mission cards, but on your opponent mission cards. So that also is a little different than normal. So yeah, that's Thri, and I'll go ahead and hopefully I can review this game after I figure out how to play it and I get it to the table. So now that we've talked about Thri, which has really great artwork in my opinion, Then I'll talk to you about this, Concordia. Alright, it doesn't have the best artwork, but I did manage to get the expansion for Concordia, Concordia Salsa. I don't have the game box for that because I threw it away. I don't need 2 boxes of Concordia, really. I just can put everything in one box, so I tossed that out. But what I actually what it actually brought into the game is this map. So you can see it's a pretty big map. And not only that, but it's also double-sided. So you got a lot more to play on. And so why I really got the Salsa expansion is because so many people on Twitter and Instagram were telling me, you gotta get Salsa, you gotta get Salsa, simply because it adds so much more to an already great game. So, of course, I loved Concordia the first time I ever played it, and pretty much everyone that I've introduced it to really enjoys that game. So, this game also brings in this new commodity, and it is salt. So you get to play with salt as well. And you have this forum. So you have this forum right here where you can put all these different forum, I guess these little cards and such. I don't necessarily know how to play the expansion yet because I haven't really read the rules, but I knew that since everyone was recommending it and I love the game already, that I just went ahead and got it since I saw it for a really great deal. So yeah, that's Concordia Salsa. So next I'm going to talk to you about the 8 games that I did manage to play for the month of August. And the first game I'll talk to you about is Farmageddon. It's a Farm Fresh edition. It's by Grant Rodiak and it plays 2 to 4 players in about 30 minutes. And it's one of the cutest games, it appears so, but it's also really aggressive. So there's a lot of trick taking, there's a lot of just, you think you're growing your crops in a certain way, and then all of a sudden your neighbor's gonna go ahead and thrash them or something like that. So, but the cards themselves are really cute. What you'll get is, you'll get these deck of cards, which are crop cards, and they have a whole bunch of different types of vegetables. And then you also get these farmer cards. And these farmer cards are either positive or negative. They affect you either in positive ways or negative ways. And these crop cards, they're so cute. So what you can do is, for example, you have this zombo weed, and you have like this bodacious broccoli, and you also have this grumpy melon, and you have this helper tater. So they're so cute. But what you have to do is you have to plant them, and then you have to fertilize them. And on the corner here, it'll tell you how many fertilizers you need. So what you're going to do is you can use these cards as a plant or as fertilizer. So you can fertilize it. So depending on how many fertilizers it needs, you get to put either 1, 2, or more. So you need to fertilize these different plants in order to collect the points. And you collect these points by planting and fertilizing. However, while you're planting and fertilizing your crops and your neighbor's also doing that, they have these farmer cards which can hinder you, like this pesticide card, which will give you -5 points eventually if you get that plant. And also, foul manure is a way to kind of offset your opponent and kind of protect your own crops and make it all stinky and stuff. So yeah, this game I played it with 3 players, but I didn't manage to play it fully. But I did also manage to play it with 2 players, and it plays really good with 2 players too. So I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a really light kind of game that you can take to dinner or just play passively, or play repetitively a couple of times and have really good fun with it. So yeah, I really enjoyed Farmageddon. I think it's a really fun game that, you know, it's really entertaining too. The next set of games that I'm going to talk to you about, I actually managed to win in auction. Now, in August, there was this big, huge convention that everyone was talking about called Gen Con. And everyone was getting ready to buy all these new released games. However, lots of people were trying to make space for those games. So they were getting rid of their older games. And so I took advantage of all those games that were put up for auction on BoardGameGeek.com. So I won a lot of games through auction. And one of the games that I won was Beasty Bar. Now, Beasty Bar is a really a short little card game. It plays 2 to 4 players in about 20-30 minutes or so. And what I really enjoyed about this game is how it relates to this other game that I have. It's called Guillotine. And Guillotine, what it does is it has a guillotine at the front of this line of all these people waiting to get their heads cut off. And what you're trying to do is trying to get the most prestigious heads, the valuable heads, like the kings or the queens or whatever. And you're also trying to avoid the heroes' heads, which are negative points and such. But in Beasty Bar, you're also trying to do something sort of similar. So you're trying to get into Heaven's Gate, which is a bar. And so you're trying to align 5 cards in a row, and the first 2 cards will actually go into Heaven's Gate, the bar. The next 2 will actually move up in line, and the last person in line is going to get the boot. So what you do is, on your turn, you have all these cards in your hand, and then you're going to pick one and just put it in the line. And it's going to do a different thing. For example, this seal right here is going to go ahead and switch the back of the line to the front and the front to the back. So it's going to just switch the whole line. And this one right here, this hippo, well, she's just going to shove her way all the way to the front of the line because she's just so big and she could do that. And the other one is the skunk. And the skunk just smells, and the people that are the animals that are actually highest valued in number, the highest 2 values, are going to get bumped out because they can't stand the smell of the skunk. So it's really quirky, it's really funny, it's a really light game that you can play. It's really competitive, and you're just trying to get all your animals into the bar. And I think it's a really great game to take out and play with a bunch of friends at a bar or a restaurant or whatever, and just have a good time with. So yeah, that is Beasty Bar. So I went ahead and took advantage of these auctions online, and I managed to get a couple of Stefan Feld games. So the first one I'll talk to you about is It Happens. It Happens is a really light dice throwing game where you're trying to roll your dice. You roll one at a time, so you have your own set of color dice, and you have these cards right here. And what you're pretty much trying to do is you're trying to help this anteater collect all these different types of termites in these termite columns. And so you're rolling a die, and you're pretty much saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and claim this column right here. So you're going to be putting dice on, and at the end, once you run out of your dice, you're going to try to figure out who has the highest value dice on this card. Whoever does will get 7 points. Whoever comes in second gets 5 points. And so on. You also have these little cute little worm tokens. And these tokens right here, they actually will let you re-roll. So you're just trying to roll dice, collect highest value on these columns, get points, and re-roll as little or as many times as you want with these little suckers, and pretty much get a lot of points. So it teaches kids pretty much to, you know, do I want to go on this card and, you know, put my die here, or do I want to put it over here, you know, and try to figure out where to put their die and kind of strategize in that kind of way. So it's a really light game that I can probably play with my family and probably some kids and such that come over and play too. So yeah, that is It Happens. Another 2 games that I won in an auction is Arena Roma 2 and Roma. So in this box it contains 2 different games, Roma and Arena Roma 2. Now Roma is Stefan Feld's first game, and what it is, it's basically a card game, and it's between 2 players. So these are all the cards that come in Roma, and then these are all the cards in Arena Roma 2. And what you do is you can play with just this set, you can play with just this set, or you can combine them, play with both of them, or one player can have this and one player can play with these. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of combine the 2 games together. It was meant for that. So what you're doing is you actually are laying down cards, and they will give you certain points, not certain points, they'll cost you a certain amount of money, and also you can get a certain amount of defense. And what you're trying to do is you're attacking one another. So it's a 2-player game only. It lasts about 20-30 minutes. What you're doing is kind of like this other game called Battle Line. You're putting one card in front of another card that's across from your opponent, and you're kind of duking it out certain times in the game. So what you start with is you start with a certain set of points, and then you roll these big chunky dice. So you have these big like wooden dice right there. And depending on the roll, you get to decide, well, the dice actually decide for you of which cards are activated. You can activate the cards, you can use the dice to get more coins, you can use the dice to get more cards, and so on. So, yeah, as far as Steffenfeld games, it's not necessarily one of my favorites, but it is a quick two-player game that I can just get on the table and just play it out really quick. It's also really weird because it's a game that's really heavy dependent on the dice roll. So you can lay out your cards in certain ways, but you won't really get to activate them until you roll the right dice. So yeah, I'm kind of like iffy about that whole aspect of the game. But for it being his first game, I can really appreciate it, and I could see like where he has grown since then. So yeah, that is Arena Roma 2 along with Roma. Another Steffenfeld game that I got was La Isla. Now, La Isla is about this one island that, you know, all these people thought these wild animals were extinct. And actually, they were all found on this island. So we're all playing, the players are actually playing as scientists, trying to capture these creatures. Example, there's the dodo bird right there on the cover. But what you got is you got these different tiles, and what you're going to do is you're going to set them up in these weird kind of ways, and you're going to get a big huge board. So it's a big modular board. And what you do is you get all these cards right here. So this is only one set. You got another whole set of cards right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to get these cards, and you're going to decide on this little player map what you want to do with your card. So you can either use it as an action, you can use it to get resource, or you can use it to advance on this track right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to play up to a certain level of points between, depending on how many players you have, whether you have 2, 3, or 4 players. The game plays in about 45 minutes or so. It's fairly quick. It's fairly light. You also get these really cool little plastic scientists. I don't know if you can see how cute these guys are. But you get these plastic scientists right here, and they move all across the board, and you're trying to surround these different creatures and such that are on here. And there are a whole bunch of like pikas and dodo birds and these like crazy little frogs and such. So it's a really cool game. Actually, I first played this game online on Yucata, and that's how I learned the game. And then I also got to play it in Boston at a game store. So I showed Mitch, you know, the game over there and how to play it, and then he really liked it and enjoyed it. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I saw it at an auction, might as well get it. So yeah, I got it, and we played it, and we've had fun with it. I think it's a really nice game. Another game that I managed to get in the auctions is The Last Will of Vladimir Suchy. And so what this game is about is it has a really odd theme, and it plays in a really different way than any other game I have. So what this game is all about is this one character. He's an uncle to all these different family members. We're all a bunch of cousins and such. And he pretty much is filthy rich. He dies and leaves this will. And he states, he plays a little game with us all. He pretty much gives about half of his riches, and he divides it amongst us all, and says, whoever enjoys the money and spends it as fast as they can, and just loves spending as much money as they can, will actually gain the rest of my fortune. So what he is, he's pretty much stating that he didn't get to spend his money throughout his lifetime and enjoy himself. So he's leaving the task to all of us. So what we're going to do is we have our own little player board right here where we're going to be collecting these different cards. But what we're going to do too is we're going to go ahead and have this big player board in between all players. So what you're going to do is you're going to get like these different tokens right here. You're going to pick and choose what you want, whether you want a certain set of actions to select, like workers, to select different actions, or these different types of cards. How many cards do you want to select? And so what you're going to do is you're going to pretty much have all these different types of cards, which these are companions. So you can decide to have a dog, and you could decide to have the dog go out for dinner. And of course, you're going to go ahead and just skip out on dinner and just have your dog go on dinner and let your dog eat as much as you can and just spend a lot of money that kind of way. Or you can go ahead and buy these different houses. What you're going to try to do is there's this market right here. You could set the prices on what's high and what's low valued of these different houses. And what you're going to want to do is buy high and then sell your property when it's really low. So that way you make no money whatsoever out of it. Actually, you lose money. And that's the whole part of the game, is you're trying to spend all your money as fast as possible before your other players, because if you become bankrupt first, then you win the whole game. You win the whole fortune of your uncle Vladimir Suchi. So the last game that I won also in an auction is Welcome to Walnut Grove. Now, Welcome to Walnut Grove, a lot of people have compared it as Little House on the Prairie, the board game. So pretty much kind of portrays that same thematic feel where a family is out in the country or a prairie land, and they're all trying to save up for the winter time and grow crops and kind of trade in the town and such. So it kind of captures that feel. So what is it? Basically, everyone is going to get their own property. So everyone gets a little cabin right here, and then they can also have little helpers, little workers that come in wagons. So this is going to represent you. So you're going to live in your little cabin, and then you have your other little workers that come along, and they can live inside a little wagon right there. So what is this game too? What can you do with this board? So another thing you can do is you actually are drawing tiles from this huge bag right here. So you're drawing all these tiles, and say, it's really neat because these tiles aren't uniform, they're kind of sporadic. So you can go ahead and place it there. Now, if your worker ever goes right here in this water area, they don't have to be blue. They can just go there, be any color they want. But if they go there, because there's two tiles, this big one is considered a tile, you get 2 resources back out of it. You get 2 fish, which are the blue things right there, the blue cubes. So it comes with all these different resources here, all these different types of cubes. So what you're doing is, this resembles a year. So spring, summer, fall, winter. What you're doing is you start in the spring and you pretty much save up for winter time, because winter time is really harsh. What you do in spring is you collect a certain amount of tiles, and then you place them onto your player board to kind of expand it all. And then you get to place your worker out and obtain a certain amount of resources afterwards. And then you can also go out and go to town. So this is a big player board that's placed in between all the players. And what you do in town is you basically trade all the resources that you've grown on your own little prairie. You could trade them in for money, you can trade them in for upgrades, you can trade them in for food, you can trade them in for lots of things. And so all this right here is just upgrades for your prairie land. And then comes winter time. And in winter time, well, it's going to get cold. So if your workers aren't covered, or if they're not fed right, then they're pretty much going to die, and you're going to hurt in points. So what do I think about Walnut Grove? I pretty much really enjoyed it. I really think it's a really nice game that teaches you tile placement, resource management. Also, it shows you what to expect in the wintertime, so you can plan accordingly. You have 8 years that you're running through. So every year you're progressing, you're getting bigger and bigger, so it has an engine building effect to it too. Yeah, so it has all of that goodness that you really seek out in a board game, and I think Walnut Grove just does all of that really well. So if you ever get a chance, try Walnut Grove. I really enjoyed it a lot. Alright, so those are all the games that I managed to play for the month of August. So I managed to play a lot of them, which is really good. I hope you really enjoyed this video too. So also, if you want to subscribe, just go ahead and feel free to. If you like this video, I also have plenty more that I've also done throughout this whole year that you can look back on too and see what else I got. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and follow me, you can follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm also part of meeplesincluded.com too. And also, I'm a part of Instagamers Network too on YouTube. So, all the link is down below and also at the end of this video too. If you have any questions or if you want me to go over these games in a full, on review, I can do so too. Just leave some comments below if you like. So yeah, thanks for watching you guys, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.